Hey everyone, it looks like we are live. I hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. We made it to yet another week. I'm so glad you're here. Today is part two of painting the figure in the urban landscape, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that. So let's see who we have right now. We have Mr. Bobby. How you doing, sir? All the way from Cape Cod. And we have JC all the way from the Atlanta area. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Really appreciate yous. So, today we're doing part two. So, I don't know if you guys seen the YouTube channel, but I did a video of like when I'm finished with the Airbrush India ink. I go ahead and do a layer of shellac. And with that layer of shellac, means that now it'll accept many, many layers, unlimited layers of either airbrush and acrylic or oil. It's just a great surface to work with. So that's great. Oh, thank you. Getting a little bit better, JC. It's just the cough is still there a little bit, but it's not like totally in the way like it was in the past, you know? But it's still there enough to cause me, you know, to actually still use cough drops. But thank you for asking, my friend. I appreciate it. So what I started doing was I worked on her stockings and then her tights, and then started with the flesh. And notice that I kept it very light. And keeping it very light is really important because in airbrush it's easier to go darker than to go lighter. So by keeping everything on the light side, I can always slowly go darker. Of course, I can use my method that I love, which is the orange and white mixture, which will make things lighter without the blue shift, but I would rather not if I could think ahead, you know, think like 6, 7 moves ahead. That's always the way to go with that. Earlier today I was working in oil paints, and I really feel that oils and airbrush very similar in our end goal is and everything like that, just a different approach. So still the same. So what I like to do is to go ahead and I want to work on her hair, then I want to work on her boots and her socks, and we're gonna do that together. So let's see. So I'm looking for my hair only stencil, and I have that right here. Definitely need my glasses for this stuff. Now the question is, where are they? Oh, there they are. I was working with my student last night on this particular painting, and what we were looking at, especially in her eyes, notice that the color in her eyes is actually like a mid-tone gray. You wouldn't think that in the white of the eyes, but it's very true, right? So those are just an interesting thing I wanted to share with you guys. And let's see, Mr. JC says he thinks, but the shellac can be also used to spray with the spray gun if diluted with denatured alcohol. That's a great idea. Wow, that's fantastic. So definitely with the spray gun, that is very interesting. I'm going to look into that, definitely. Now, what you do with the cabinetry, do you guys use that, JC? That's wild. That is really cool. So right now I'm going to make sure I get this lined up correctly. What I really care about more than anything is the contour of her face. That's like my main concern. Well, let me go back here so you can see. So right now I'm just worrying about the contour of the face. Oh wow, that is amazing. So definitely something to really explore, right? Oh man, you got to tell me more about that. Now this is interesting. I don't want to cause problems. I do have her face covered here. But the thing that kind of troubles me a little bit is right here on her face. I don't want to cause trouble with that, right? So this has to be perfect. Otherwise, I'm going to have a heap of stuff to fix, and who wants that? You know what? I'm thinking this is going to have to be just this edge here, and then I'm going to do that edge separately. So how are we going to do that? Sometimes when you go ahead and work on, you know, doing stencils and everything, sometimes it just doesn't work out for whatever reason, but I'm just going to do one side at a time. The best defense is not to be there, right? And JC says diluted 10% by, but pretty sure it could be probably pushed a little more. So that would be 10% denatured alcohol, 90% of the shellac, sir. So we'll put this here, and then we'll kind of pull this down a little bit. Yeah, we want to cover this, so there we go. We make sure that this is on point, and I think that's on point. And you know what? Let's do it over just to make sure we have it right, you know? Whoop. My magnet went flying. Okay. So we'll make sure this is on point. You know, an ounce of prevention goes a long way. All I care about is the contour of the front of her face. If that's on the money, I'm okay. I don't care about the hairline because I'm going to cover that up. There we go. Hey Raul, all the way from Jersey. How are you, sir? JC says he did test some doors and no issues. Had to match some older doors that had amber color. Wow, very cool. That is some great information and very timely. Thank you, sir. I am dropping my magnets today, and that's rare. Let's see. Oy. There we go. Put this here and here. So I'm just going to really worry about spraying the contour right now. And what I'm going to do is get my reference out in Pure Ref. If you haven't gotten Pure Ref, I really super highly recommend it. It really is fantastic. Okay, and this is a nice dark color. So what we need to do is go ahead and match this color. And the great thing about my new technique is you never have to guess what the color is. It's going to come out demagnetizing. Yeah, that could be it, right? So I'm just pulling up my image here, and I'm going to search the color, and it's very dark. It's a very, very dark color, and it's nice because I get to use cobalt blue with this, which I love. And let's make this bigger. Okay, so it's almost black and some cobalt blue in there. And so it's I would say maybe even, no, definitely cobalt blue. Definitely cobalt blue. And Double check. Okay, so I definitely see it. So it's mostly black with just a little tiny bit of cobalt blue. And we're going to get out our black color. But we don't have to go completely black just yet, so I'm going to probably get dark as we go. I think that's a better way. And so good to see you, Mr. Raoul. Love the artwork you're doing. You never disappoint. Always kicking butt, man. So I'm putting some of the darkest dark there. And so I'm using the illustration black. Just have to find it. And we got cerulean blue. We don't want that. And let me see if I can find my cobalt blue. Well, I have the 4011 reducer, so that's one thing down. And here we go. Illustration cobalt blue. And illustration black, which is cool. And not many people on today. That's why I didn't advertise. I really just, honestly, I want the diehards here, you know? And so that's why sometimes I don't advertise, because sometimes I just want the diehards, you cool people. And so that's why I didn't advertise. Some days I just feel like hanging with the close people. And the close people always reveal themselves, right, guys? A little bit of this cobalt blue. Not much, just the tiniest little bit. You know, sometimes you can put water in there, right? But sometimes you just want it to melt a little bit more. So I'll go ahead and put in the .4011, and you see that beautiful bluish black color, and it's not fully it's not fully black, so it's good, and it's nice and thin, and so I have some gray in there, right? So it's not fully let's go ahead and put a little bit of this in here. And you know me, I always like to test it out first before. I'll put it on here. Let's see. See how the airbrush is working. Not optimal, but okay. Alright. Alright, so here we go, guys. And I'm just going to really study this edge. I'm going to see how this looks. Astral, good to see you. How's it going, my friend? All the way from the UK. Colette, how are you? All the way from Wisconsin. So great to see you. How are you? So glad you're here. It's getting better. It really is, I have to say. I'm not on cough drops 24/7 anymore, so that's good. But whenever I get a cold, notoriously, the cough stays for a while. That's just my body. And let's take a look. Okay, so not too crazy about it, so it's kind of a little bit off. But I think I'm going to come in with the paintbrush. And let's do that. Let's come in with the paintbrush and kind of fix that up. You know, and it's always good to come in with the wet palette. I got a new set of brushes, so I'm excited about that. And I got these little pipettes, which are really cool. And we're just going to have fun tonight and take it easy, take our time, no rush. You know, it's a very low-key live stream, as I like it sometimes. Sometimes I don't deal. I want to deal with everybody, just the, you know, like I said, the diehards. You know. Okay, so I already have my color mix. Let me get my new brush and my pipette. See this, how cool that is? And my new brushes, where are they? They were here a moment ago. Where did they go? Did I put them away? If I put them away, I'll never find them. Let's see. Where in the world did they go? I had them. You know what it is when you switch from airbrush to oils and back? There's always a transition that sometimes slows things down. Here we go. There we go. Got a new set of brushes, so how can we be sad about that? Okay. Now, like I said, we have our mixture right here, so we'll use our wet palette for that. And let's make this happen, guys. Hey, Mike, how you doing today? So, great news. My sublimation printer died, Mike, and now I have the sublimation printer back, and I'm making your mug and the sweatshirt and a special gift for you. So that's coming right down the pike, sir. So I'm so glad you're here, Mike. Great to see you all the way from the Maryland area. So that's exciting. I'm so glad to see you. And that color, is that color coming out? Oh, look at that beautiful color. Okay, so now we're going to, we want to dry brush, right? You have more control when you dry brush. Get rid of some of that excess water. In such an area where, hey, Mr. Brad, how's it going? He cut down a big tree today. That was pretty cool. So how tall was that tree, Brad? After all was said and done. There we go. So I'm really happy using a brush, and I think I'm going to continue with that. And let's see here. The airbrush is great, but sometimes the paintbrush just gives you such a feeling of control and safety, you know? So that's basically 70 feet. Oh my God. And Michael says, thank you, Tim. It's a pleasure being here, watching you do some excellent work. Oh, the honor's all mine, sir. And JC says he had deja vu, Tim, when you did that with the brush. Weird. That's cool. Let's see. And then right here, it's kind of gray, so I got to be careful that I don't go too dark, right? We don't want to go too dark. But I needed this contour to be on the money. I didn't want to have to deal with a bad contour. And I could actually come in even further here. There we go. And it's coming together. And Bobby says, sorry, catching last second of the Bruins-Toronto game. Is that the playoffs yet? I know the playoffs are coming up, Bobby. I'm going to reload a little bit of our mixture here. And what's really great that this is not like black, and we could come in with black, and I think that would be overkill. We can always go darker, but going lighter is a heck of a time, so we don't want that. And you know, when you're at this stage of the painting, I want the idea of the finished painting to be totally, you know, out of the question, so to speak. How's the sound quality and everything, everybody? Pretty good? Game 3, wow. That's pretty cool. And let's see. Right over here. And I'm going to come in with some lighter gray. But I really got to get this contour. This contour, if I get it right, it's going to be like really amazing. If I get it wrong, it's going to look really cheesy. So that contour is everything. Mr. Dan, how's it going? Great to see you, my friend. All the way from Indianapolis. So great. Yeah, we got a great group here already today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Really appreciate yous. And I'm just going really slow because this is like part of the way that really sets the tone for the rest of the painting, you know. Oh, Astral says he has headphones on, so it seems okay. Cool, cool, very good. JC said good, so that's great. And yeah, you know, sometimes when we use the freehand stencils and the freehand shields, we're kind of playing Russian roulette in a sense, because, you know, what if that's off? Then all of a sudden we have like reconstructive surgery to do, and that's not good. So that's the scary part, right? And I still have a little bit of this dark blue color. But I love the fact that, you know, with this mixing method that I'm perfecting, is that you start using colors you never used before, like magenta and turquoise and stuff like that. It's really cool. And you know, those colors are really there. We just weren't seeing them. Now, right here I have her beautiful eyelash here. I'm just going to hit that very lightly. And of course, we're going to go over it several times, you know, so don't worry about it. But I like to establish it and, you know, bring it back several times, just so we keep our drawing, right? So this is my way of keeping my drawing going. Mr. Roy, all the way from New Jersey, how are you? And Michael says he's loving them brushes, how cheap they were. Yeah, these things are fantastic. Every 2 weeks I get another set. They're very, you know, so you throw them away. They have a, you know, I mean, a sandwich costs more, right? Right, Mike? So that's really cool. So yeah, I'm right there with you, just having a good time with these brushes. And I use them for oil, which is really great. And she has pretty big eyebrows, so let's call it like it is. She has big eyebrows. She's beautiful, but she has big eyebrows, which is good. I like big eyebrows. And right here. There we go. Maybe we can come in and do a little freehand over here. Keep our fingers crossed here. Do some tests. Maybe lower our air pressure. There we go. Work together, right, with the airbrush and the paintbrush. And Michael says, yeah, I used him a lot on his barn painting. Worked out great. Oh, man, that is so cool. Yeah, you know, and what's the worst that happens? You go buy a bunch more, right? Now, when you're working with illustration paints and everything, keep a little thing of water here and give them a good rinsing in between, because acrylic will kill your brushes if we're not careful. So we have to be very careful. So we have this kind of bluish black color here, and just playing with that. And now I do see we can actually come in a little further with this contour on her nose. And maybe here. See, I wouldn't trust that with the airbrush. I just wouldn't. And you know, maybe other airbrush artists can nail it every time, not this guy. So I don't want to take that chance, you know. And so that's important. Astral says, any New York sandwich will be expensive. Oh, your niece got married there. Yeah, definitely. Definitely expensive. Eating in New York, like at the Met, I think a plate of like macaroni was like $20 in New York, you know. And we're talking like cafeteria macaroni. Nothing to write home about. So, pretty nasty. But yeah, New York is expensive. Let's see, go back to our image. Okay, great. Alright, so I'm kind of happy with the hair, but let's see if we can find the gray. It almost looks like the gray of the hair, but I don't want it to be the color of the paper. So I'm going to actually mix this color, and we'll go from there. So let's mix this color, and it's basically a gray with a little tiny bit of orange in it. We're talking very little bit of orange. Okay. No, actually, more orange than I thought. Okay, so let's go ahead and mix that. And what color gray are we looking for? Let's try this, because it's a light gray. And get one of my cups. I'm prepared. I have all my cups over here. So I'm ready to go. And we're going to do airbrush and paintbrush at the same time. Well, not at the same time. That would be cool if I had 6 arms, but almost at the same time. And let's see. Let me shake this up, get this mixed up. Don't worry about my hands getting dirty. Although I hate my hands getting paint on them. So, we're looking at our mixture here. Okay, so that orange. I kind of like this orange here. This is opaque chrome yellow. I think that's a little weak. Let's see. I'm going to go with opaque orange. This is the opaque line of the illustration colors. Has anyone used the opaque line of the illustration colors? If you have, let me hear what you have to say about them. The next painting I'm going to go back to working with Wicked. But right now we're just going to kind of go to town with this. Now that opaque orange, remember, all paint is not created equal. Some is very potent, has more texture, more pigment in it. It's more pigmented. So your normal mixture is not going to work, because the values are okay, the color's fine, but the intensity of the pigments are not in the same ballpark. So we have to lower this, like, really. Wow, hey Mike, thank you so much for that super chat, sir. I really appreciate that. And it's always great to have you in the live stream. Always fantastic comments and everything. And your support is really, really appreciated, sir. Thank you so much. And really loving the work you did. That Corvette, man, that's like, holy Toledo. That was a Corvette. I don't know cars too much. The blue car with the water in the background. That's really fantastic. Astral, that is a kick butt orange. I'm telling you, that orange really just took over Manhattan right there. Let's see. Go back to our color here. Is this still too orange? Well, I don't know. We'll go with it and we'll see what it does. You know, we'll stay light so we can always go darker. And we're going to paintbrush this in first. Let's see what this does. You know, I kind of like it. And, oh, the Corvette, man, that is a beautiful painting and great frame job. Did you frame it yourself? That was a kick butt frame job. I do like this. It has a nice warmth to it. It's not just your average color. And we can always cool it down in the future. So very cool. Sometimes the paintbrush, especially in hair, just does some really great things. And it is going to dry darker. It's just a nice start to the hair. But you can see how, you know, when I roll out this color system, you're not just, you know, using the colors that you see. It kind of reveals what's going on underneath, which is nice. I think I seen your piece on Facebook. Yes. And then I also seen it on Instagram. And you did it and it looked good in the white frame with all the blue in the painting. Yeah, that really worked. Uh, and Dan bought a fine art print from me. And interesting, the white matte that my framer picked was really really on the money. I wouldn't pick it, but you know, sometimes you got to think outside the box when you're framing, and that's what my framer did. We got a long way to go with the hair, but it's nice to just set the tone, right? Yeah, would you like me to do that? I can definitely do that. You want me to do that now, sir? Because that's really a nice painting. You know how I love to show off you guys' work, right? So let me see if I could grab it and we'll put it up for everyone to see. That's a great idea. So very cool. Let's see if we can get Mike's. We'll come over here to Facebook and I'll find you, Mike. There you are on my friends list. Trying to find the best picture here. Oh yeah, there it is. Very nice. So I'm going to save it. Save image as. And Mike's Vet. And save. Okay, so now we'll pull in your picture. Image. This PC. Pictures. There we are. So everyone, that's Mike's painting, and you can see how really beautiful those blues are, right? Those blues are amazing. I'm gonna make it nice and big so it fills up the frame. Look at that, man. So that looks really great. So did you do what Steve Leahy does when you're looking at the letters? You don't really paint the letters. You kind of just, you know, paint the shapes, right? Did you do that, sir? Let's see. Hey, Dave. How's it going, sir? Great to see you. All the way from Oklahoma. Are you traveling, my friend? Are you in Oklahoma, hopefully relaxing, right? So I'm so glad you're here, sir. It's so cool. All the really cool people are here tonight, so I appreciate you. And that is so exciting. And are you getting to do some artwork, Mr. Gregory? I hope so, because I know you work so hard. I want you to do artwork as well. So Dave, this is Mr. Mike McGlung's painting that he just finished. It's a Corvette. Look at that engine. What I really love about this painting, which I love so many things, I love the way he did the asphalt, and the shimmering water is just unbelievable, and the blues are just been great. Oh, it's been busy. Oh, yeah, definitely. I can imagine. Isn't this painting great? It just is fantastic. And what blue is that? Would that be cobalt blue, sir? Just incredible. You know, really, really great stuff. Really happy with it. And oh, so cobalt blue. I love cobalt blue. That's what I use on my oil palette, and it's what I'm using on my airbrush painting. So cobalt blue is my blue of choice. I really love Prussian blue. Don't get me wrong. That's one of my favorite blues. I've never been a fan of ultramarine blue, only because I was force-fed that since I was 15 years old. Ultramarine blue. Same thing, I was force-fed ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and I have a real aversion for those colors because I didn't choose them on my palette yet. I had to put them there, and I never used them. Mike says he likes how the sun comes through the back window, and you got it on the front window, too. Yes, definitely. I definitely love that. That is amazing. Yeah, the blues are just incredible. And Dave says, Mike, was there a reference or was it an amalgamation of a couple different ones? Very interesting. Yeah, that's a great question. So, yeah, really loving this, and you did a great job on the frame. Let's see if I can make it a little bit smaller so we can see the frame. But yeah, the white was a good choice. Definitely. I definitely like the choice of the white. I think that was very smart. Very smart choice. So really loving it. So thanks, Mike, for sharing that with us. And it's you guys and girls are also very talented, and it's just so amazing to, you know, whenever you guys want to share a painting, please let me know on the live stream, and we'll do it. I'm all for pushing your guys' work, and you know, that's definitely always for that. So very cool. Okay, so that's great. Alright, so we were working on her hair, and what we're going to do is, let's see, we worked on her hair. I don't want to get into detail too much yet, you know, because I do want to get into detail, but I'm going to keep myself from doing that, right? It's something that I have to really, really refrain from. Now right here, we have that beautiful orangey gray color. I just love this color. It works. It doesn't look like it will work, but it does work. And Bobby says, mine isn't good enough to share yet. No, yes it is. Definitely. Anytime you're ready, that's the only thing. When the artist is ready, that's what's important, right? So that's really where it's at. But definitely, you're ready there, sir. But you let me know when you feel comfortable. We're all on the same path, right? Just at different places on the same path, but we're all doing the same thing, basically. Really loving this, bringing this down, and when I come in with the background, it's really going to come together. And I think there's a little bit of this gray color right along here. Like I said, this is the super early going, right? You know, we don't have anything there. But this is where you're making bigger decisions, right? Bigger decisions, which is important. And so everyone's so cool seeing everybody. Okay, so I want to paint her dress. So, but here her dress is lighter here, and then it's darker here. So let's make that happen. And let's see. So I think I made a freehand stencil over here. Let's see. I think I remember making one especially for that, because I was thinking ahead, you know? Let's see. That one. We'll move these aside. Bear with me, guys. There we go. I did find it, so that's good. And, you know, these bigger shapes, I'm not so worried if it's not perfect. It's not like the contour of the face, where if I get that wrong, it's a hill of mistakes and fixing and everything. But here, we have a little bit. So I'm just going to, you see, I have this part of her dress and then this part of her dress. But I want to work on this part of her dress. So I'm just going to make sure that I get these main lines correct. I'm not going to worry so much about the bottom part of her dress. There we go. I'm pretty happy with this. Now what we're going to do is get our small magnets, which we're having magnet issues today. As JC said, I think I'm demagnetized. Air Todd, great to see you. How are you, my friend? I'm so glad you're here. Michael says the main thing for him is just having fun. He says he's not an artist, but I disagree. You are definitely an artist, Mike. You're born an artist. And been painting only 3.5 years. Well, you discovered that you're an artist, but you are an artist. So, and I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. So you are more an artist than many of the artists I see in art school. So, you know, really know that, you know. And I say the same thing to Bobby. You know, you guys are real artists, you know. I can see it, you know. It's about the passion. That's all it's about. If you have a passion for it, that's everything. That's not a little bit. That's everything. So now I'm going to get the light color of her dress. And we're going to start light, right? Even though up here by her turtleneck it's a little dark, I'm going to start light. So I'm going to go with the lightest part of her dress, which is like a gray dress. And let's see here. Wow, this color is so similar to her hair. It is crazy. Let's see. I'm just going to put it right next to it. It is basically the same color of her hair, just a little bit lighter. It has the same base color. It's a little bit more on the yellow side, but it is slightly lighter. I mean, the color of her hair and the color of her dress are literally very similar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the easy route and I'm just going to lighten it a little bit. That's all I'm going to do. So let's move this up here. Get my fallen stencils over here. And I'm going to get my illustration, 50/50 illustration white. Going to get another cup. We're just going to lighten that a bit. Not much, guys. Just a wee bit. Let's see what we come up with. And this is the orange color, so that wasn't what we wanted. And let's come in with a little bit more of that illustration white. 50/50 illustration white. Can't go wrong. I've been using this since... Oh, man, Bobby, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, sir. That is so cool. And I'm really honored for your support and honored for your friendship and definitely honored for you being here. Thank you so much, my friend. From the bottom of my heart, it means so much, sir. It really does. I'm just going to put a little bit of this in there. So, Bobby, what I want you to do is on the very top, I don't know if I still have it here. Let's see. And you see that link? And no, that's not the link. I have that's not the link. Let me get the link for you guys. For you and I'm going to put this here. Let's see, where can I bring this up here? Let's see, put this right over here. And okay. Whoop, one moment, guys. Almost there. Okay, let's see here. All right, so if you guys look at this link, this week, those who give super chats, I want you to pick one of, see this, not the first one, but the second link here. I want you guys to pick a fine art print. And I will send you a fine art print. So we have one from Dave and also Michael. You can so Dave, you get a fine art print. Michael, if you want one of my fine art prints, you can just let me know and I'll take that $10 off of that fine art print. And so this way, you know, if you want to go that route, you guys have that ability. So I hope that is good. So, you know, for the $49.99, Dave, I really appreciate it. You pick whatever. Just tell me, just whatever one you see with this second link, click it and let me know which one you want and I'll get that out to you. And the same thing with you, Mike. You just pick one, take the $10 off and offer that and I'll send you that print. So whoever gets a super chat, you can just take that off of the, which is really cool. Just take that off, and I want you guys to really come away with something for supporting me, and that's great. Uh, okay, definitely. So I'll throw that in with the goodie bag. Definitely, my friend. So for Mr. Michael. So Michael, I owe a couple of things to, and I'll take care of him. So definitely. So um, the one thing is that when no, this is cool. I think this is really good. I think this might be a good way to say thanks to you guys. Alright, so now I have this gray, and let's see if this is the gray, right? So it's a little bit lighter than the other one. Oh, cool, definitely. So we'll make that happen, Mike. So that's a little bit, I don't like it. So I think for the shirt, we don't need to have the other color. I think it's a straight gray. So we're going to go with a straight gray. And what value gray? That's the question, right? I think it's value number 2. Let's see. Let's try value 2. Ah, thank you. Mr. Gregory says we already come away with a lot. That's amazing. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Bobby, for that. You guys are all so great. And let's see. I'm going to get my gray number 2. And what I do with the grays, it goes with the grays that are on the color wheel. If you guys haven't seen my color wheel video, it's really cool. I have a lot of good information on how to use that color wheel. So this is a very light gray. I'm just going to paint this in. This is the early going. I'm going to use the gray to paper for the shadows. Still with the 1 second rule, guys. We never get away with not using the 1 second rule. And so thanks everybody for coming here tonight. I really appreciate it. It's such a great Wednesday. You know, the weather's getting warmer. I'm not sure I'm a warm weather person. I really aren't. I really am not. But that's what makes everything great, because we're all different. And for a turtleneck, I'm going to use the white here. So I'm going to be putting up a lot of fine art prints, and you know, and there's an option for me to do all the framing for you and everything. And it's on metal, so the prints are on metal, which is really cool. Air Todd says, you know you're not an artist when it's hard to use a color wheel. You know, the color wheel is a hard thing to use because in art school they drew it at us and they really didn't tell us too much about it. You know, they said, okay, this is your complementary colors, these are your primaries, blah, blah, blah. But to really utilize it, they kind of fell short. And I think color theory is one of the things that is probably the least concentrated on in the art world right now. Okay, so you see I went ahead and did this part. Now we're going to work on her dress. So I'm going to let this dry, of course, and we're going to work on the bottom part of her dress. And this is the beginning, right? So it's, I wouldn't say it's an ugly stage, but it's not a beautiful stage, right? It's just mapping things out. So see how we went ahead and put in her dress, and that's cool. And you know, it really isn't. And that's one thing about this thing that I'm doing while I'm spending so much time on my color wheel. is because, you know, and I really did a lot of searching. Do I need to do this? Do I need to spend all this time on this? Because I think it's going to be a real industry disruptor, because it's going to, I mean, it's something that I kind of, you know, in working, you know, for the past 20 years, every single day, almost, and, you know, working with color for the most part, and then coming back to color after working in black and white for like 3 years. It it really let me see color in a different way, which is was really scary to me, because I was finding things out that was, oh, it was really different. It was really, and that's what I'm bringing to the table and why it's so important. Okay, so now let's go to a dress, which is a totally different gray. And so here we go. So this is a totally different gray here in her dress. And it's going to be interesting because, again, it's more of a solid gray with not much color in it. And we have to listen to that, you know. And, you know, there comes time when we'll put color in because, you know, we're just color crazy. But we have to listen to our eyes and not our head or our heart when it comes to color. And that's the truth, you know. And that's one of the real hard things about being an artist, is that. And Michael says when he used to be a car painter, he used to have classes on shading and tinting, or tinting, and I think that's where he learned a lot. Oh yeah, definitely, especially a car. You can't get creative. You have to match it, right? So that's, you know, really, really important. But I'm going to do another video on the color wheel, just with you in mind there, Mr. Todd, because the color wheel is really fantastic. Brad says Tim's color method will bring it all together for you, Todd. Oh, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Now, for her dress, I'm going to mix this color again. Now, that's a darker value. So what I do is I use my color wheel, and I ask myself, you know, rather than just say, oh, that's a number 4, I'll really look at it next to my reference, right? And that will really tell me. So looking at this, it's like a value number 6. I can say that's a value 6, and that's important to do that. So I'm going to get out my value 6. I'm going to put it right on my wet palette here. That's a little dark, so I'm going to go with value 5. And let's see. So it's all about, it's all basically about thinking ahead, right? Like chess, right? You think your opening is like 6 moves ahead at least, if you're doing the English opening or something like that, you know. So that's true. And Astral says, gotta go, my son started chatting. Give my best regards to your son in Japan. Astral, thanks for hanging out. Always a pleasure. I'm so glad to talk with you today. And I hope you have a great weekend. And if you have any questions, always feel free to. Maybe we'll see each other on Mr. Leahy's live stream, which is always a lot of fun. I'm going to use a bigger brush. One of my teachers says, it was really funny. He said, real men use big brushes. So I thought that was hilarious. So this is gray paper, and you can see when I'm putting this on, it's basically the same color of the paper. But as Mr. Leahy says, paint loves paint. So we're just going to put in the gray. And we're going to do the dry brush. You know, that always is in effect, right? You know, you don't want to, you know, have too much wetness, because then all of a sudden you don't have the control. But notice the big brush. You don't always have to use the tiny brushes. It's just like oils. So that's where, you know, working in different mediums is always great. Mr. Leahy, how you doing? Oh, so cool. So, it's almost like I spoke you into existence. So I'm so glad you're here, sir. And what Mr. Leahy says, you know, paint loves paint, right? So that's why, even though the color of the paper is the same, it is in our best interest to put the paint down. And we'll just dry brush that. So, so don't forget, tomorrow, I always love Thursday afternoons at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. We get to watch Mr. Leahy. Uh, and I believe, what are we working on tomorrow? Because I know you're done with the Beatles, which is good. And so that's cool. So thanks for hanging, Mr. Steve. I appreciate you, as we all do. Also, be careful of putting paint on paint, right? Or just keep painting when it's wet. Just be careful of that. Don't be afraid to wipe your brush. Somehow it could get contaminated with color underneath. You don't know. It's always going to dry darker, so don't get, upset if it's drying a weird color. And it's just the first layer. So I see that this gray is a little warmer. So I'm going to come in with more of an orange and gray in a little bit. But just establishing that. Oh yeah, the tire of the razor blade painting. Very cool. That would be great. And so, okay, so we're just establishing her dress here. And it's already dry. That's the wonder of acrylics, is that it dries literally in seconds. And it's okay to have broken color, right? You don't want the color to be so perfect. And thank you, sir. So, Mr. Brad said the color of her nylons are perfect. I appreciate that. I always have fun doing that because it's like I've done this, kind of, you know, pantyhose or tights several times, and the colors are not what you expect, right? They're so out of the box, which I like. Okay, so I just did a very loose kind of gray, and I'm going to bring some of that gray up in here so it doesn't look so disjointed. Just a kind of a light glaze of color here, because this is already thoroughly dry, and if I just do a light coat of this, it'll just work out as a glaze. Okay, so we're not doing any detail. We're just kind of just putting it in there. Mr. Mike, how's it going? I got the photos. Yes, they're beautiful. And I'm going to talk more with you about all the specifics and everything. So that's going to be very interesting. Very good set of photos you gave me too, Mike. So thank you for that. Okay, so now we have a light gray of her socks, and we might as well put that in. But I'm not going to use a big brush for that, of course, so we're going to wash that quite thoroughly. And look, Mr. Leahy, we're using the wet palette. Now that's all on Mr. Leahy. Good and bad. No, I'm just kidding. It's totally good. So it has been a game changer in my airbrush paintings. And so that's really cool. So in her socks, I'm going to use almost a white. And we're just going to put that in. It would be almost silly to go in with the airbrush for something so little, you know, when you can handle it with the paintbrush. So if you're about efficiency, this is really not something that you would attack with the airbrush. You know what I mean? It probably wouldn't. So that's important. Now, here's my attack strategy when it comes to the windows in the subway is I'm going to create a stencil where I'll paint in the darks with the airbrush and get really good structure. And then I have another one where I come in with the lighter grays and get structure and then go ahead and paint the rest of it. So when you're doing something like this in interior, you definitely want structure, and that's basically, you know, my game plan, you know. And Mr. Bobby says, hey Steve, sorry I missed your, was watching the recap of the Bruins playoff. Did the Bruins win? So that would be cool. Oh, so the win, so they did win, so great. And Mike says he has to find the time to get back to spraying, been out for over 2 years. Yeah, you know, just do a little bit. You know, don't worry about anything. Just go ahead and take out your airbrush, put some ink in there or what have you, and just play. Just have fun. And do that a couple of times and, you know, see where that takes you. And a lot of times it'll take you far, you know? And that's important to do that. So as you can see, we have her dress and everything, but let's go back and kind of clean this up. Clean up my act. And here we go. Brad, I was saying earlier in the class, early in the live stream, about, you know, the eyes of Amy Lee, how it was a mid-tone gray in the whites of the eyes. And, you know, those are things that are really fascinating when you find that out. You're like, holy cow, that's really wild. And Mike S. says, spray dirty words all over the house. You know, if it gets you back to airbrushing, as long as you paint over it, you're good. Now, it's been a while since the Maple Leafs were doing anything, right? So it seems like they're kind of getting back into it. Now, I want to spray in her boots, just the major shapes. So I'm going to get my freehand stencil of her boots. Let's see. Where is that? And yeah, you know, this is just like, just taking our time. And let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to go and get that stencil right here. Here we go. I'm going to do one boot at a time, as I always do, because why try and get it to match when we don't need it to, right? We'll just do one at a time. And we'll just mark it in place. Whoop, I moved it too soon. Yeah, today I was oil painting today. Always enjoy it. But, you know, just how similar it is in in the working method. It's so similar. I find that fascinating. Now on her boots, I'm going to worry about the light gray first, and then I'm going to come in with the dark. Let me make sure that we're in focus. Okay. There we go. We're in focus. Okay, maybe darken her up just a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to make sure that our magnets are hugging the edge of the freehand shield, because if we don't, it is going to get underspray, and underspray is the enemy. Unless you're doing soft edges, which Mr. Leahy did on his live stream, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where he kind of let it kind of flap and gave a nice soft edge. You know, so that's cool. So a lot of good hockey talk going on. So love hockey. My team, of course, is the New Jersey Devils. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to see what kind of gray's on her boots. And this gray is a warm gray. Let's see. Whoa, is that true? Yeah, it's much darker than I anticipated. Okay, so that's looking like a number... Let's look on our color wheel here. That's looking like maybe a number 7. So I'm going to go with number 7. And I think we're going to spray number 7. Let's see. Just going to expel the color that's in here. Let's see here. Alright, so I'm going to get one of my rags. I'm just going to wipe this. A real dark color in there. Yeah, so it's a real dark color, so let's save that. Keep our fingers crossed that the Extreme Patriot Arrow is working. Let's put some water in there, just so that paint doesn't decide to set on us. Okay. Spray this through. Okay. Now we're going to use... No, because that's... I'm going to actually, because I want... I'm going to go grayer, a little bit lighter in that color. So I want to get rid of what's in here. So Mike says if he had been at it for the last 2 years, he may have the guts to try and do his love's images himself. Well, you'll get there again. Airbrushing's like muscle memory. You'll get there again. I know it. So I'm going to not just guesstimate this color, but I'm going to mix the color. No laziness here. You know, even though I do have a tendency to say, close enough, you know, so fighting my own tendency to be lackadaisical. Okay, so yes, so let's go ahead and make this happen. So I do have this color in here. That's quite a dark gray, so I'm going to go with number 6. Let's see what this does. Where is our... Here we go. Okay. Mix this. It's much darker. I like the orange, you know. I think that's good. But we can go darker. We're going to add a little bit of this blue that we made earlier. That's looking pretty good. So let's see if we can airbrush that in and see what that does for us. I always go with the light color first because it's easy to go darker than to go lighter. Plus you don't have the wonderful blue shift issues. Okay, now where's the top? Here we go. Okay, so we're starting with the boot all the way to the left. And of course it looks super light, super dark, only because there's no dark next to it yet. And let's see if we can do the same treatment with this boot, and we will. Because we're not doing the outside. We are a little bit here. I'm going to use my freehand shield here. Right here. We don't want to paint her sock. Okay, this boot here. Okay, so now we're going to come in with the dark color, which is very similar to the hair. I don't know how similar it is yet. We're going to calibrate it. See what color this is. Yeah, I think we can go with the same color as the hair. So we're going to dump this out, and actually what we can do is put it in a cup and save it for paintbrush techniques. That sounds good. Let's put that in the cup. See, that's our gray right there. We'll put that aside. And now we're going to add this wonderful color we had earlier. And add that. And what's residue in the cup may lighten it up a bit. That's all good. It's all good. Okay. I want to do a combination of airbrush and paintbrush techniques, right? You want to do both. And Mr. Gregory says, good night all, best wishes. Dave, thank you so much. And please email me, let me know which print strikes your fancy, and I'll get that out to you ASAP. So thank you so much for your continued support and friendship, and it's so great to see you. Don't work so hard, my friend. I admire you taking care of business always. So that is cool. And let's see what color we're coming up with here. Oh, that's a beautiful dark color, isn't it? Okay, so let's protect her socks. Okay, so the top part of her boot here is super dark. See that? And this comes down. A little darker here. And it's okay, you know, you don't have to solve the equation just yet. You have plenty of time. Okay, so that's it for that. And let's go to this boot here. And again, well, let's bring in the magnet. This is all just mapping out, guys. That's all it is. If you want to get a little more detailed, just get a little closer with the airbrush, right? That's all you have to do. Bring these magnets closer. Okay, so that's it. Just giving, just darkening them up a bit. Let's pull this off, see what we have. It looks a bit messy, but I think it's going to look nice and clean when we pull off the shield. Let's see. That looks nice and clean. I'm pretty happy with that. So we're doing very minimal, very minimal techniques as far as scratching. We're just going to be painting. That's going to be the most important thing. We do scratching, but that's like emergency, Mike S says, Tim, if you need a good job, do a good job on his girl's image, I'll let you do my signed photo of Mr. Ed. That's pretty cool. You do have a signed photo? That's interesting. That's really cool. And I'm going to take a swig of my limeade here. Only have a little left. Oh, that's good. So this is where we are right now, and maybe we can start working on her jacket a little bit, perhaps working on the darks. But if we work on the darks and then come in with the light, we'll contaminate it and get blue shift, right? Oh, the hoof print, how cool that is. That's funny. Do you know, Supreme Court decided that anything that is not made by a human, so if the horse, does artwork, or, the elephant does it with his trunk, or a cat walks across the canvas, you cannot copyright anything that's done by an artist. By anything that's done by a non-human, even AI, you can't copyright it. So that's interesting. Once an artist manipulates it, then it's copyrightable. So a little bit of lore trivia for you guys, which is really important because AI is quite the topic, So remember I said I was going to do very minimal erasing, so I lied. And let's see if I can do a little bit. We are working with the illustration colors, right? So we do have the ability to erase. So that's pretty cool. So this is the new element. But on the boots, I think it will make it better. Then it comes up here. I really like doing full figures. I'm a portrait painter, so I love portraits, right? But full figures are such a challenge because you have so much more that we're working on, right? So much more going on. Then that's pretty wild. So and I'm actually going to darken those boots even more. And so that's interesting. Oh, definitely, definitely I realize that. That is so true. And yeah, but it's interesting because I looked into the law part of it, Mike, and I thought that was interesting, especially with AI going on, right? Yes, got to get the anatomy right. So true. Let me lighten this up a little bit. There we go. And you got to get the anatomy right, which is crucial, right? It's so important. And let me move over here with my reference. So right now we're working on this boot here. And right here it's just a little bit lighter here. But still, we got a lot of dark colors to put in. And then maybe we can get that mono eraser. You guys like using the mono eraser? I love it. It's such an important tool these days. But let's say if I wanted to do a razor blade technique, dun dun dun, let's see if we could try that right now. I like trying it. It's something that I could show you all. I don't do it too often, but when I do, let's see. I don't do it so often that I can't find my razor blade. I found it. All's well. Okay, so right here. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, look. Let's zoom in, shall we? We'll zoom in. So you're working on paper, you got to be super, super careful. You don't want to dig into your paper. There we go. You don't got to do the whole thing. And then right here. There we go. Let's see if we can do the other boot. And this is just an indication, and I'm going to go over that with paint, of course. But it's good to indicate it. Now I don't have much paint on here, so I'm not going to scratch it. If there's no paint on there to pull up, then I'm not forcing the issue. Just very lightly. It's all about taking your time. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. All those cliches. Okay. And, oh, love the mono. Yeah, the mono is just the bee's knees, right? It's so good. As long as I can find it. I'm at the point where I'm at a critical state of my studio where it's at the point where I could find stuff, but it takes a little while. But pretty soon I won't be able to find anything, and I'm just going to have to really get in there and clean. Now, I just had my mono last night, so it's kind of bizarre. So like I said, it's like things are just lost to the point where it's just getting into kind of affecting the workflow. You know what I mean, guys? Now, sometimes it gets in the wrong drawer, and that's annoying. But let's see if it's in this drawer here. see. Okay. Checking the different drawers here. Okay. Move my keyboard out of the way. Let's see. Now it's personal. Let's see. So I got things that don't belong in here in my pencil drawer, like a palette knife, SD card. You know, that's when things get kind of screwy. Let's see. Put this aside here. And airbrush parts where the pencils should be. I'm sure you guys and girls can relate to this state of affairs. So it definitely isn't in the drawers, but at least I'm getting palette knives out of here and airbrush parts. You know, that's good. See, that right there. Exactly, JC. It's under or behind something. And I'm going to go with that technique right now. And so I have my pencil here, my illustration, my Wicked paints here. And I just stabbed myself with my airbrush, par for the course. Okay, so we are just going to live without it. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to do the light of her leather jacket. So let's attack that. Her leather jacket is far from light, right? So let's see. I'm going to come over here. So, interesting color here. Interesting color of the leather jacket. There's no such thing as a gray. There's a green gray, a red gray. You know, there's every color in the rainbow mixed with gray. So gray is very rarely just a gray, right? So, but we want to start with the lighter gray color and then go darker. So let's see. Okay, this is an interesting gray. Again, the grays that we're using today are so close to one another. So I'm actually going to take that gray that we used earlier. You know what? I'm going to mix it again. I'm not going to be lazy. So don't be lazy and say, oh, that color is close enough. Just go ahead and mix that color again, because you might be seeing something different. So definitely, please make sure you take the time to mix a new color. Don't make the mistakes I've made in the past. So looking at this here, I can definitely see that it is okay, great. Alright, so see what I have to do. I'm going to get a new cup and we're going to mix a new color. So remember, we got burnt before. I have this color right here, pre-mixed. This is Wicked, by the way, which is great. I see green in every color, JC says. That's pretty cool. Can't find it when you need it, in plain sight when you don't. Isn't that true, my friend? And JC says he gets lazy when it comes to cleaning airbrushes. So I don't airbrush to save me from cleaning. Sometimes, right, if I'm working, let me go back to our color here. Go back to our painting. We're just looking at her boot. Let's see. There we go. And we'll just zoom back. There we go. So now we're concentrating on her leather jacket. So I'm going to put some of this kind of yellowy orangey color. And now we're going to mix it. Let's see. Okay, so gotta find the right gray, right guys? and the right values. Let's see what we have here. And 4011 is your friend and mine. Let's see what we have. Oh, great. I got gray paint everywhere. And let me get a handy wipe. They are great. Invest in good handy wipes, guys. They're fantastic. See how quickly they clean? So anything else doesn't do half the job that this does, which is great. Put that there. Okay, so we have our mixture, which is right here, and let's blend it. So you might be in the ballpark, but that means you just continue, you know, you just, if you're in the ballpark, you just keep fighting until you get it. It's a battle. Let's see what we come up with. My guest says those sonic cleaners work nice after you soak the airbrush. Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about that today. I think Mr. JC and Astro was talking about it. Very cool. Maybe I'm going to go with this color. It's a little bit, maybe just a tad darker. Just going to shake this up here. See what this does. This is looking very close to my target color. I'm happy. Took a little longer than I normally take. Alright, so we're going to use the Extreme Patriot Arrow. Your friend and mine. And let's see if it wants to play nice. Okay, it does want to play nice. Okay, so we're going to work on her jacket. So do I have a stencil for her jacket? That's a question that is yet to be answered. Let's see. I don't think I do. But it doesn't mean I can't go ahead and just freehand it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do that. So let's make this happen. Okay, let me get my reference out. And like, you know, the great paintings of Mr. Leahy, you know, this is going to take some time. The gray is very close. And just hitting that gray right now. And make sure you don't oversaturate. That's always a concern. We got this. Now I know the light color is very close to that of the background, but paint likes paint. A bag is a very similar color. So be careful not to go too wet So you just lower the air pressure, that helps a little bit. Increase the distance, and that helps as well. JC says, this painting reminds me of Steve Driscoll's work for some reason. Oh, that's great. That's such a compliment. Thank you, sir. You know? So Steve said he's always meant to get one of those sonic cleaners. Most do have a bad glitch of the timers, they said. So that's interesting. Also, I find that this gray is kind of works on top of this color we have. So I'm just going to hit her dress, the bottom part, with this gray here. There we go. So, like I said, it's a very slow going process. I like this gray. Maybe I'll put some of the light on her boots here. There we go. And you see how I kind of work things slowly? And I think now we'll kind of maybe start to do some paintbrush techniques with the inside of the details of the jacket. Work on her dress just a little bit, come back in, just keep working in layers. That will work fine. And let's see if we can come in with the darker colors here. And just keep working back and forth. And I'm going to use my I think I'm going to use my smaller brush for this. And let's see. Okay, so what color are we going to use for the darks here? But I got to come in with the mid-tones yet, right? So let's see if we can find that mid-tone color. See, I don't want to go premature and attack the darks until, well, that is the mid-tone, right? Yeah, so maybe, let's see, what do we have in this brush here? Let's see what this does. Just hit some of these darks rather quickly. And Michael says this painting reminds him of the reason why some of the girls are late getting to his house. Because they fell asleep, right? And Mike says, Tim, you should have painted her with a 357 in her hand, called the painting The Sleeping Danger. And, oh, Astral's back. How's it going? So your son is at work now. He's moving into a beautiful traditional Japanese house. on the weekend. That is great news. Definitely after staying one of those crazy hotels, right? So that's good news. I'm glad to hear. I love hearing good news. Believe me, that is the best. Since I have this in the airbrush, why don't we put some of it on our palette and go to town. Let's see. Put some of it in here. Okay, we're going to go to town with this, with the paintbrush a little bit of paintbrush action. Going back and forth between the paintbrush and the paintbrush, not a bad combo. And let me get my reference out. And we're going to do some dry brush technique here. There we go. Just beginning to get some stuff. Tim's Paintbrush Action Magazine. That sounds funny. And Astral says, still laughing about his Love Hotel escape. That's funny. And JC says, no, not a one. All have come out good and clean, but I soaked them disassembled. That's good, yes. That's always good to do that. And bring this over. Put this here. Gotta be careful with the cups you don't spill, because that could be disastrous. So right now it's just, let's get some structure here. And notice I'm not going full on black yet. That takes time. Might as well get there slowly. Maybe folks with issues never read the instruction, as most men never do. Had clean that, so that nick it up and cleaning tank. Yeah, so that's, you know, learning about how important it is to keep our airbrush clean. That was like one of my most important lessons. Once I got that down, it really made a difference in my workflow. Keep that 1 second rule going. Put some of this down here. Beautiful dark coming down right here. Especially like right now, you're kind of in that in-between state. You just want to jump and get into the detail of her face and hands. But that's when, you know, we really have to be restrained. Or have restraint, not be restrained. Mike says it comes down to common sense. Hand clean the needle so parts don't bounce off during the cleaning cycle. It's, you know, it's a lot of things. I find that, you know, there's a lot of information out there and good information, but works for that artist. And what I find as far as cleaning my my equipment works for me, and that's what we have to do. We have to find that sweet spot that works for, because the way person A works in Airbrush is totally different than person B and C and all that stuff. So that's something to always keep in mind. And then it's kind of a nice dark here, nice dark line. Just kind of defining the darks here. The major structural shadows, which are very helpful. And keep the magnets out of your way, especially when you're doing freehand work, freehand brush work. JC says he's a freak when he comes to cleaning his brushes, and that's a good thing to be. And here's a good opportunity to get some of the darks that are in between her fingers. And right here we have a nice dark area. And we can do some of those larger areas with the paintbrush, but there's always a time to go linear. And that's what we're doing. We're going linear right now. And then we can do some of the larger tonal shapes with the airbrush. But we just have to be patient. That's important. Patience is everything when it comes to this stuff. Don't think about the finished work at this point. It's too early. Just keep your head down and keep looking at your reference and working it out, you know, especially with this turn. See how this turn here, how it comes down and in? That describes the form, you know, that describes her form. So those are things that if you don't get them right in the early going, is going to change the form of your model. So that's important, the structure, right? Oh, thank you. Mr. JC says that she's coming together. I appreciate that. And very much appreciative of you all. Right here we have a beautiful triangular shape. Let's hit that. And these are going to be like the steel girders that's going to help us bring this together slowly but surely. So right here we have her sleeve, and that sleeve comes right up to her skirt, and then right here is this beautiful dark that almost goes to the front of the sleeve, and then it comes down. And that's like one of those structural forms, right? In the beginning, it's kind of boring details and stuff like that, but it's so important, right? It's so important to get through the not so glamorous parts, but get them done correctly. Like you see her boots, it's, you know, they're just very loosely done, nothing fancy. And then this dark comes down and becomes the fold of the sleeve of the jacket. And JC says, nice, Mike. He's never had to go to polish the needles. I hear great things, Mike, about polishing needles. Here's a dark right along her hand. So there's a dark right here. And then this comes out. And then her pinky comes out a little bit here. And this, of course, is good old-fashioned drawing here. Not worried too much about stencils or anything at this point. And all this area is just super dark except for this area right here. Very interesting stuff you guys are talking about. Thanks for all your input. I appreciate that. So we're at 11:27, getting close to the end of today's live stream, and it was a lot of fun. It went really quick for me. Just thank you. And that's all you guys and girls making it go so fast. Now, we can always go to our bigger brush, right? If we're working on bigger areas, right? So we'll just come with a bigger brush. So just like in you know, if you're painting in oils, you're not going to use a tiny brush for large areas. Uh-oh. Little bit of a mistake. That's okay, not the end of the world. On the hand. Okay, so that's where we are, and it is 11:29. And right here we can hit some of this dark here. Right along this finger, right along the thumb, gets dark right here. Hit that value right by the sleeve. There we go. So that's pretty much where we're gonna stop. And of course, I would come in later with, you know, different parts of her dress, you know, kind of work on some of the darks and everything. And it's just layering upon layering with airbrush when we're working airbrush and paintbrush techniques and everything. 4:30 in the UK. Oh my God, that's late. So thank you, Michael, so much for the super chat. Thank you, Dave Gregory, for the super chat. You guys are great. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. I really appreciate you. And, oh, I did miss a good line. Let me see. Always wanted to paint in oils, but never remembered to change his truck oil in time. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, definitely. Quick story, when I first started art school, I said, why don't I use regular linseed oil from the paint store as opposed to the linseed oil that I get from the art store? Well, the painting looked really good, but in 1 week everything got amber yellow, so it was pretty funny. Yeah, oil, right? Oil painting, that's hilarious. Thanks, guys. I really enjoyed your company tonight and hanging out with me, and I hope to talk to you over the weekend.